O ganito ha, try natin dun sa taas, sa 610. So pagka dumating kayo doon, iayos mo yung upuan na baka papakita ko sa inyo mamaya. Para mas maganda kung naka-classroom na lang tayo. No? Kasi parang silip-silip dito na ano ako, pag tinigin ako sa online class, parang napapagod ako, napapagod ako agad. Ang dami. Parang gusto ko, ano na lang, classmate ba dun? Bibigyan ko na kayo ng class 10, tapos pili na kayo.
Ano daw?
Bibigyan ano plus na distribution.
Plus na siya?
Joke.
Diba? So, sila. So, okay, so we continue our lecture class. And this time, this will be the second chapter of the book about evolution. So last time, the discussion was about example of how evolution is basically happening. And the example was HIV. It's all about HIV. And I also gave some additional associated information that is about COVID-19. It's almost similar features, no, about evolution. Now, when we talk about evolution, there will always be what we call as patterns, like how evolution came, no, or how is evolutionary event happening on a certain group of organism. It varies, and it all started with this kind of discussion can start with the question of where did we really come from? So that's one of the biggest questions. People are asking, or people are thinking, saan ba tayo nanggaling? Based on the story of the Bible, based on faith, based on Bible, based on creation, we were created in the image and likeness of God. However, some theories also tells us that human beings, as we know them, developed from earlier species of animals. And they did a survey regarding what is it that we believe regarding the origin of humans. And if you're going to notice here about, so this is the not sure, this is I think the true here, this one is true, this one is false. So ito, true itong part na ito, class. So you can see Iceland, yung buong yan, true ang answer. And then, ano ba ba? Denmark, Sweden, France ranks the first to answer yes, that human beings developed from earlier species of animals. And of course, if you're gonna consider faith, sasabihin natin, hindi, di ba? We are created in the image and likeness of God. Pero based on other theories, may ibang justification. But the question is, it's not really what do you believe, so what is your belief regarding saan ka nanggaling. We're trying to look at all possibilities regarding the origin of humans. Since we are not studying religion here, we focus on other theories regarding the origin of humans. And based on the concept of Charles Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection, that living things are basically related by a common descent. So meaning to say that if A and B and C are different species, somehow at a certain point, they are basically related with each other. In their, what they call as the last unifying common ancestor. Yan sinasabi ni Charles Darwin. And you know, at that time, Darwin's concepts of evolution is not really acceptable by other people. I think you discussed that in your STS, di ba? About the intellectual revolution. Di ba? Pinag-aralan niyo sa STS yun. Nag-aaral ba kayo yun? Naalala niyo? Kapag hindi niyo na naalala yun. Di ba? Parang kasabayan nila ano eh. Di ba? Sabi ni Copernicus, the sun is the center of the solar system. Hindi daw. Sigmund Freud's libido theory. And of course, theory of evolution by Charles Darwin. These are some of the greatest intellectual revolution that people doesn't really accept at that time. But, and true enough, the theory of evolution by Darwin has already just been accepted by people later on. Nung buhay pa siya, and when he published his work, they don't believe on that. But later on, scientists started to look at the theory of evolution and they started testing it. So they traveled to the Galapagos Island, took all the samples, observed the finches, and then checked kung totoo ba yung sinasabi ni Darwin. There are also other people who studied different organisms, not in Galapagos Island, but in other islands of the world. And they found out that whatever he's saying in his book is actually true. What else? When Charles Darwin published his book on the theory of evolution, Gregor Mendel at the same time published his work on inheritance. At that time, hindi sila magkakilala ng dalawa. And they found out that we all know that Mendel, which you will study in genetics, that he just conducted his experiment using computations, probability, and statistics. There's basically no actual wet lab scientific observation of the cell, nor the DNA, because at that time, hindi pa nila alam yung term na phenotype, genotype. It was only later when scientists started to collaborate or corroborate the work of Mendel as well as Darwin, and that everything seems to have sense, no? Make sense afterwards. And because of this, no, most people now accept the concept of Darwin's theory of evolution by means of natural selection. See, it was published in 1859. So sobrang wala pang idea ang mga tao nito about DNA. Hindi pa nga nila alam na ang DNA natin ang genetic material at that particular time. And a lot of people now a lot of biologists, now evolutionary biologists, started to look at now reasons regarding the patterns of an evolutionary event. And there are basically several explanations regarding this theory of evolution, which contradicts the other one, which is the special creation theory. Sabi nila, those as far as fate is concerned, that species do not change. So kung ano man daw yung mga species na yan at yan ang yun. Number 2, lineages don't split. So since species don't change, then it will never split into two different species. So whenever that when you see a frog, yun na yung dati pa ever since. But how can you explain dinosaurs, di ba? How can you explain fossils? How can you explain organisms that are, fossils that you can find anywhere now, right? Actually, that's one of their concept regarding fossils. Regarding at that time, mga 1800s, when they started looking at or discovering fossils, they might be saying, wala ito dito, baka meron ito sa ibang lugar. Pero that's class, it's 1800, 1900s, early 1900s. Walang information yung mga tao doon sa ibang area. So they're thinking, baka naman nagro-roam pa to sa ibang lugar. But apparently, wala, extinct na pala yun. Diba? What else? Each species is separately created. Diba? Each species is independently created, and Earth and life are young. So these are the concept of special creation. But the special creation is considered as another one which contradicts the concept of evolution. And the concept of evolution is about descent with modification. Meaning to say, pag sinabi natin descent, what does descent means? It's technically what we call as transfer of genetic material. Yun daw yung descent. And when descent, which is over time, it creates what we call as a lineage. Diba? So, transfer of genetic material through time creates a lineage. So, this one's a lineage. This one's a lineage. So, along these lines are numerous descent, meaning numerous relationship or numerous transfer of information from one species to another species. And so, if you're going to look at descent with modification, it means the ancestor which is found here can be modified, no? And thus form letter C, for example. So, meron pa rin information or features that can be found in C that may be traced back to the last ancestor. That is modification. So here, sabi, species can change over time. Microevolution, this one here. Yan. Yung nangyari dito, this may be considered as a change over time or macroevolution, microevolution. Yan, tingnan yung class. They're just the same fish, pero baka itong fish na to ay nag-iba na ng features. We'll have examples later. 2. Speciation. We discussed that in systematics, di ba? If this is microevolution, this lineage here, or this arrow pointing here, is speciation, or the point of divergence. Yan, kung part na to. Di ba? That is the point of divergence. In this case, let us look at this. See? This one is speciation. Yeah. Ito ay bird. Bird na hindi lumilipad. Mga dinosaur na hindi lumilipad. Tapos, ito ay, ganun pa rin sila. Tapos ito, they can now fly. Are there birds now na hindi lumilipad? May mga birds ba na hindi lumilipad ngayon?
Yes.
An example? Chicken. Ostrich, di ba? Ano pa? Mga flightless birds. Oh, Mr. Ano sir, hindi mo ulit pa?
Kabildo po.
Kabildo. Ano?
Yung rat-type families, mainly ostrich, emus, kiwis, and then yung
Ostrich.
ostrich, yes. And rheas, yung not so well known as.
Yo. So, they're flightless birds. Some of them, when you will see some pictures later, they have vestigial structure or like minute structure that may be considered a, they were not used anymore, and so they're just there. They don't have any function, but they're there. And of course, macroevolution, yeah, which is new life form derived from older. Like here, look at this. These are different ones, tapos ang iba na yung shape niya. Diba? Or a whale, yung mga whales class, which is, the ancestor of whales are with limbs, di ba? Yung mga parasitus, sinasabi nila. So they have limbs, changing to whale form, which is an example of a macroevolution. Alam niyo ba that whales are more closely related to yung mga hooved animals. Yung mga cattle, sheep, pigs. Yan. They are related to that. We'll have a lecture on that sa chapter 3. And of course, chapter 4. And of course, all life forms are related in common ancestry. Like, we all are associated with what we call as a last unifying common ancestor. So, yan daw lahat yan class. Okay? So, this is the two views of the history of life. And we will be discussing each of these patterns of evolution. Starting with microevolution or change with time. So here, they're trying to point out class that microevolution can be associated with what we call as always as natural selection. But they try to look at these events under lab conditions or in vitro or in controlled environment. Because they wanted to know whether talaga bang magkakaroon ng change at a certain point. And so they did what we call as artificial selection or what we call as selective breeding. Sometimes selective breeding class are basically used by people in agriculture or those people who are raising certain type of animals that they want to make sure that these particular lines or genetic lines are maintained. So I'll give you an example. If you go to Guimaras, alam niyo Guimaras, di ba? Parang sabi ko na yan tayo. You are not allowed to bring mango inside. Hindi ka pwede magdala ng mangga, papasok ng Guimaras, but you are allowed to bring out mangoes from Guimaras. Because apparently their mangoes there are different. I don't know why. Hindi pa naman ako nakatikim ng mangoes from Guimaras. Naka-dried mango na, pero yung fresh mango, hindi pa. What else? There are some types of lines, no? Genetic lines of breed lines of cattle. Diba yung sa mga with the unique marbling that are used in steaks? Diba ang sinasabi nila these are different lines ng mga cattle? Diba? So these are what we call as selective breeding. And you know, they try to study this in the lab. Then what they did, class, is they took, for example, a group of mice. They try to put them in a closed environment. And what they did now is they were able to raise, no, and allow to grow several mice. One are those mice that are said to be fast moving, while those are considered to be controlled. And so every generation, they're getting 5 males and 5 females from the mouse that are capable of, you know, doing extensive exercise. Like ito, yung kaya niyang mag-rotate revolution ng ganito, paikot-ikot ng ganito. And they also took some samples of mice from control that are also capable of doing this particular activity. For a certain period of time, doing this particular kind of procedure of getting 5 males and 5 females from the ones that are said to be very fast and the control, they found out, class, that those that are considered to be from parents that can perform 15,000 revolutions per day, pretty much constant across their offspring, as compared to those control mice, which is about really less if you're going to look at the histogram. No? From this large population of lab mice, they're able to conclude that selection, selecting mice characterized by this particular character, automatically produce group of mice with that particular character only. And that is what we call as selective breeding, artificial selection. So saan pa ginagamit yan? Sa mga dogs, di ba? So I'm sure meron dito mga mahilig sa mga dogs. And that pag bumibili kayo ng dog, laging, I don't know kung very particular siguro, especially mga breeders, that they make sure that yung mga offsprings nila ay purebred. So parang pag nagkaroon ng anak, ganun pa rin yung magiging anak. May ganun, di ba? Yung iba ba, iba na yung anak, may ganun. Tapos sabi, ay, pure to. Tapos nung nagkaroon ng anak, iba-iba yung tsura ng aso. So, hindi totoo. That's not true. It's not a true breeding organism. But, whatever type of dog it is, whether this type of dog or the small ones, they all came from their common ancestor, which are wolf-like individuals. Di ba? This is a typical example of selective breeding as well. Ano ba? They also conducted several studies regarding natural population, observation of natural population. So ano to, class? These are Brassica rapa, a small herb that is associated with turnips, no? Mga mustard, yung mga ganyan. And what is interesting with this plant is that their flowering and fruiting depends on the presence of rain. So the longer the flowering, the fruiting, especially on times wherein rains is available. Therefore, if you are a Brassica rapa and your fruit flowering class is short time only, diba? Then you cannot maximize flowering for the whole duration when rain is available. If you are capable of flowering for a long period of time, then you can maximize the rains, and therefore you can maximize fruiting and flowering. However, the problem now takes place, or you will experience problem when you are a Brassica rapa, which flowers longer than usual, and suddenly there was drought. So if there's drought, it will take some time before you flower. Wala nang tubig. Diba? So those Brassica which are flowering for a short period of time are suitable in areas where water is not, rain is not available for a certain, for a longer period of time. Say for example, it will only, rain is available from May, June, July, August. But apparently, nagkaroon ng parang hindi masyadong maraming rain. So, May, June, nawala na yung rain. Pero short yung flowering niya. So, kaya na niyang mag-flower, kaya na niyang mag-fruit. Naintindihan niyo? Now, if these Brassica are all long flowering type of Brassica, and the available rain is only May to June, hindi na sila mag-flower. Diba? Kasi sanay sila na mag-flower ng mas matagal compared dun sa mga Brassica na, or mga group na yan, na short in flowering. So you might be asking, sir, bakit ganon? Parehong species lang naman yan. Pero yung isa short flowering, yung isa long flowering. These are variations. Diba? Katulad natin, pare-pareho ba tayo ng kulay ng mata? Hindi naman, diba? Diba? We are not, our hair, some of us are curly, others are straight, others are in between. So those are variations. So ganun din sa mga plants. And so, they try to look at this, and good thing that they were able to wait, nakalimutan ko yung term. They were able to collect, preserve. So they were able to preserve some collections of the seeds. So nagkaroon sila ng collection, they were able to collect some seeds and kept them in a container or in a storage. Those that were during 1997 and during 2004. Yan. So ano naman problema nitong 1997 at 2004? Apparently, 2004 class is actually at that time when there was what we call as drought. Yung 1997 naman, ito yung mas maraming rains. So, fast forward, they planted this. And they found out na yung mga seeds that were actually collected during 2004, when there were droughts, flowered for a short period of time. So, ibig sabihin class, ano ibig sabihin ito? Yung mga brassica na to, na nakolekta nila noong 2004 when there was drought, are already manifesting character or expressing characters of short flowering. Meanwhile, those that were collected during 1997, when there's basically no drought, can flower for a long period of time. And when they observe it, oh nga, mas matagal yung flowering niya. And these are the ones that are considered as hybrid ng Crenospora. Okay? So this is a typical example class of direct observation of evidence of possible selection na nangyayari sa isang or what we call as possibility of microevolution. At a certain point, nangyari yan ngayon. And then if it is being passed on from generation to generation, there might be a chance na ito na lang yung magiging available doon sa environment. Naintindihan niyo ba? Next. Questions, class? Ha? May tanong ba? Naintindihan? Ito naman ako. Saan ko yung... Next. The next example class of microevolution, basically vestigial structures. So, ano ba yung mga vestigial structures class? They are useless, rudimentary version of a body part that has an important function in other closely allied species. Before, meron tong concept na the theory of use and misuse by Lamarck. But it was considered as null and void. Kasi ang sabi doon ni Lamarck, okay na sana eh. Kaso ang sabi ni Lamarck, yung mga giraffe daw, di ba, yung mga giraffe, hindi daw dati mahaba yung leeg nila. Tapos dahil kumakain daw sila ng mga matataas na puno, kaya daw yung leeg nila umahaba. So pag hindi mo nung ginamit, dahil ginagamit yung giraffe yung ulo nila sa pagkain. I mean, yung mahaba yung pinakain nila. Anong yan? Yung mahaba din daw yung leeg nila. Di ba? Totoo ba yun? Mr. Mother is Mr. True or false? Sige, ito may sagot si Mr. Gabi.
If yung ancestor ng giraffe na yan is willing to exploit yung rich vegetation doon sa upper levels, it needs to use yung parang yung i-maximize niya yung parang height niya. For instance, ginagamit yung old ancestor niya, ginagamit yung parang back legs niya to stretch out para makuha yung leaves doon. And eventually, meron doon parang isang variant na meron siyang much more longer legs, and then it can easily exploit yung leaves na yun. And eventually, yung variant na yan will be, yung variant na yan will be more often na this next generation, which eventually leads to yung modern day giraffe.
So kaya nga, so hindi totoo yung sinasabi ni Lamarck na yung theory niya. So it was technically discarded. But of course, that theory of Lamarck doesn't really is associated, it's not really associated with vestigial structure. And again, if you're gonna look at these pictures, so ito ay kiwi. Tapos pag binuksan mo yung yung kanyang dito sa side, there are tiny wings. You know? And of course, hindi naman, kiwis are flightless birds. So, wala silang way para lumipad. So, para saan ito, di ba? Para saan yung wings? Kaya dapat, siguro yung kiwi, hindi niya, dapat siguro during evolution, hindi niya masyadong ginagamit yan. Kaya, hindi niya, sige, Sir Camille.
Since yung probably ancestor ni kiwi na split up na sila since na-isolated sila sa island, and then this island yung eventually become New Zealand, wala silang parang land predators. So, na-maximize nila yung effort nila for getting resources instead of invading yung mga predators. So, eventually, naging kiwi. Although nowadays na parang yung disadvantage na yun since na-block natin ang cats and dogs sa island.
So probably they don't have any predators for them to fly. There's a lot of food sa soil, so they don't need really to exert too much effort. Yung kanilang mga yung kanilang mga ancestors, and so the wings doesn't really have any function at all. Kaya nawala, kasi hindi nila ginagamit. Ano pa? Ito. Yung mga phyton daw, right? Meron daw siyang remnant of hind limb sa ilalim. Yan. So hindi rin naman ginagamit, probably, no? It's called a spore on either side of its bed. And apparently, wala sila. Hindi mo na ginagamit yung kanilang mga hind limb. So, nawala na lang sila. Kaya kung ako sa inyo, gagamitin. Gamitin niyo lahat ng pwede niyo gamitin sa katawan. Kabay, oo, gamitin minsan class ha, baka dumiit. No? Tama, true or false? Wala pa man din nabibig. Hindi naman masyadong iba the more interesting. But of course, hindi mo message ay rational individual. Dito ka lang isa na sa ay, so sige. Sige. Humans are rational beings. Go on. Sabi humans are rational beings. Kaya,
Pwede lahat ng paradigm theories. Wait lang, pwede ba lahat ng May purple. May purple. Orange apple strawberry. Ay, kuya, akin yun. Pinukuha niya kasi sabi ko,
Kaya kay Lamar. That's why Lamar's use, the concept of using this was never been accepted. Because hindi ibig sabihin na you are basically using it. Like, di ba yung sa ahaba yung sa leg mo. That's not how you... Pero, ang pinag-usapan naman, what we're actually discussing here in class is not the individual, kasi iba yung evolution. It's not, we're not talking about of individual. We're talking about of the population. So, kung halimbawa, sa isang tao, at nawala yung basta hindi pwedeng individual, in evolution, it's not individual, but it's population. So we're talking about this bird that doesn't really use the wings, the ancestor of this bird. So itong bird na ito, ay hindi na siya makalipad yung kanilang ancestor kasi hindi na masyado ginagamit yung kanyang wings. So kung yung ancestor ng mga tao, for example, ngayon, hindi pwede yung limb siguro, hindi pwede. We can equate it with this, ano ba? The ability of monkeys to climb because of a grip, di ba? Dito sa, ito yung mga lines dito sa ano natin. Sometimes it increases surface tension, which are very important in grasping, di ba? In climbing trees. But you see, we don't do that anymore. Pero meron pa rin, we can climb like monkeys in trees. But there are some people who are very good at that. Pero we can still use our hands for getting something and increasing the grip because of the lines here. So yung mga yun. These are some examples of vestigial structure. Hindi yun pwede. Next. O, tingnan natin baka meron pa dito. Yan. Coccyx. Diba? Isang rudimentary tailbone. Dito, wala tayong tailbone. Meron tayong coccyx, but apparently, sa mga ancestors natin, may mga tails. Longer than this. But this one doesn't have any coccyx. Wala tayong tail. Diba? Ano pa? Ito, erector pili muscle. Iba yung nag-goosebumps kayo. That is considered as a rudimentary structure. Kailan kayo nagkakaroon ng goosebumps? Kailan ka kinikilabutan, Mr. Malamig, di ba?
Pag may nabasa na
Class. So, kailan tumatay yung mga balahibo sa katawan? Pag malamig, pag natatakot, ano pa? Maganda. Pag nasisiha. Sige, pag nasisiha. Usually, general pag malamig. Bakit? Kasi number one class, usually, ito mga to, sa mga chimpanzees, they allow their hairs to raise, to increase the body volume, to sign as being aggressive to their opponent. So like, mas malaki ako sa'yo pa. Number two, the erector pili muscle class somehow allows us to, so yun talaga yung pinaka-function niya. Pero ngayon, bakit pagka malamig, tumataas yung balahibo mo? They have some information or some interesting reasons behind that. Is that when the hairs of your body starts to raise, they create a still air over the top. And so, this still air glass prevents convective loss of heat. So, pagka malamig, paano ka ba nawawalan ng, how is heat being lost if it's cold, di ba? Cold air moves over surface, and then there's a loss of heat through convective wave. Pero kung may still air over the top, kahit malamig yung hangin na pumunta sa'yo dito, hindi ka mawawala ng init. I mean, the heat is actually reserved in your body. Hindi siya, it will not be lost because cold air moves. Sabi yun ang isa sa mga reasons. Pero, bakit pag natatakot? Hindi ko alam bakit pag natatakot. Like, isa ka lang, tapos biglang tumayo yung mga balatik mo. Eh, bakit pag malamig? So, hindi na natin. Ano ba? Appendix. Pero kasi appendix, sinasabi nila, di ba, appendix doesn't have any function, pero apparently, appendix is composed of several cells that is associated in immune response. So, hindi natin siya pwedeng sabihin vestigial structure. Yung talagang vestigial, talagang walang function talaga. See, vestigial structure doesn't only things that you can see, but sometimes vestigial structure can also be found in your genes. So there is an enzyme called N-acetyluramic acid hydroxylase. This is an enzyme that is encoded by a gene called CMAH. And this type of gene class, or this particular enzyme is capable of converting a certain type of sugar, no? And this particular sugar is called N-acetyluramic acid. Or ang tawag nila doon ito yun. Yeah. NEU5AC, N-acetyluramic acid, into N-acetylglyco or N-glyconuramic acid, which is NEU5GC, N-glyconuramic acid. Ito naman, N-acetyluramic acid. So ano to? This type of sugars class are basically found in chimpanzees. Pero in humans class, we also have a particular gene called the CMAH coding region. In humans, meron din tayong gano'n. But when they check the base itself, or the DNA stretch of that particular gene, they found out that meron siyang 92 base pair deletion. So meron deleted portion. And as a result, wala kang production na, it's a loss of function mutation. So you cannot produce the N-acetyluramic acid hydroxylase. So ano mangyayari? Hindi mo pwedeng ma-convert yung N-acetyluramic acid into N-glyconuramic acid. So wala kang ganyan. Pero ang tanong, bakit ka pa may ganito? Bakit ka pa may CMAH gene? Kung wala ka naman palang ma-convert. So that is a typical example of vestigial structure. So maraming ganyan class sa inherent sa mga human beings that are, they're not supposed to be there, but it's there. So that's called vestigial structures. Some of the evolutionary significance class includes yung mga loss of CMAH has been proposed to have contributed to several aspects of human evolution, like resistance to certain pathogens. Yung iba, they want to bind here, pero wala naman tayong ganyan. Diba? So, hindi tayo masyadong na-apektuhan. Pero, ang problem ay, what if yung mga bacteria o yung mga parasite nag-evolve din? which they don't need this anymore. Diba? Like for example, there are certain types of, for example, lipopolysaccharides. We don't have like that. Diba? But microorganisms tend to actually live in our body, exploiting our body, getting something that can be used to produce lipopolysaccharides, and so on and so forth. Changes in immune function, brain evolution. Human brains contain much higher levels of this, and not this one. Yeah. And so on and so forth. Okay? What else? Here, this is a fully armored fish. No? Tingnan niyo yung itsura ng class. Diba? Meron siya nito, ito wala nito. Hindi nila alam kung para saan ito class. These are sticklebacks, found only in northern hemisphere. And you might be thinking that they are of different species, but based on studies, when the two meet, they can interbreed. And so, they are not different species. Clear? Hindi na ba class? Next. Okay, any questions sa first part, microevolution? So let us now go to the next one, which is speciation, which I think we have discussed this in systematics before, or the formation of new species. Always remember the concept, biological species concept, that all living things, species are population that are interbreeding with each other. But they are interbreeding, they are reproductively isolated from each other. They conducted a certain experiment class regarding speciation under artificial scenario. And if you're going to look at these are ratings of Drosophila. So they mated Drosophila class on those that were fed with starch. And they also have Drosophila that fed with maltose for several generations. So kung titignan ninyo, when they allowed mating to take place, they found out that only those Drosophila that were fed with the same food mated a high frequency as compared to interbreeding with different feeding medium. So, yung mga same that feed ng same starch, mas marami compared dun sa starch and maltose. Maltose and maltose, mas maraming nag-mate as compared sa maltose with starch. So what does this mean? It means, class, that artificially, you can induce a certain organism not to mate, and somehow think one is different over the other. This is basically speciation. No? Look at this. This is basically the process of how speciation is taking place over time. At first, they are single variable population. Always remember, a population is variable. Hindi ibig sabihin that they're all the same species, is that they are all the same on their morphological structure. There will always be variation. So kung titignan niyo yung itsura niya tayo nga dito, di ba? Hindi rin tayo magkakamukha, meron tayong variation. Same with this fish. They're all single variable population. At a certain point, they can be distinguished from each other, but they are still interbreeding. So one probably is staying at the top of at the surface of the water. The others are very much interested in eating at the bottom of the seafloor or at the bottom of the lake. And then when they somehow meet, they can still interbreed. But then, at a certain point in time as well, when population starts to, somehow limited in seeing each other, because the ones on top of the surface of the water tends to stay more there because they prefer, there are a huge number of food on the surface of water. On the other hand, the ones at the bottom of the lake is that they can maximize the food there kasi mas marami sila nakukuha food doon sa bottom ng lake. Hanggang sa hindi na sila masyadong nakikita. And this now creates two isolated populations that when they meet, they will never intervene. And thus, it creates now what we call as a new species. So that is how, this is a typical example class of what we call as a parapatric speciation. It's a parapatric speciation. Meaning to say, they have a parallel habitat that had undergone or that allowed speciation to take place. Diba, remember yung parapatric? Parallel habitat. Iba naman yung case, halimbawa na yung isa nasa top floor or nasa top ng lake, yung isa naman ay nasa bottom ng lake, tapos nagkaroon ng malaking blockage sa area. Kasi sumabog yung volcano, nagkaroon ng malaking harang. That is a typical example of an allopatric speciation. Double L. On the other hand, iba naman yung magkakasama lang silang lahat dyan, tapos parang ayaw na lang nila mag-mate sa isa't isa. Parang, sino ka ba? Wala nang mating. I don't like you. Why? Because nagkaroon ng mutations. Diba? And suddenly, they don't respond to pheromones or to sex hormones produced by one individual over the other. And so, they created new species within the bunch of population with the same habitat, and we call it as sympatric speciation. So we have sympatric, there is allopatric, which is different location, and then we have parapatric, which are parallel habitats. So this is how sticklebacks looks like. And look at this. So they started looking at the sticklebacks in the Vancouver Island in Canada. And nakita nila yung mga gill rakers, yung mga to. Gill rakers class are actually considered way of getting the food ng mga fish na yan. And of course, ano sila nakikita sa gills. Yung mga gill rakers. And sometimes you can classify fish based on how gill rakers looks like. In fact, we will be doing this in next week. So, bumili kayo class ng mga tawidis at saka ng usual sardine. Hindi yung nakalatan. Yung mga tamban sa Tagalog. Ha? Meron sa palengke. Kaya di malalaman natin. So per group, bring 5 tamban and then 5 tawidis. So pili niyo yung mga, pagka sinabing tawidis, kas ganyang kalalaki, dito yun na. Maliliit lang ang tawidis talaga. So 5 lang, tapos ilagay niyo na agad sa alcohol. Ha? Para ma-preserve. Okay? Tapos lagay niyo na dito, lagay niyo sa bottles, lagay niyo na dito. And then we are going to dissect next week. Look at their gill rakers, check how different the scales, and we'll see how the marine sardines from a freshwater different from each other. This is about speciation. Okay? So, doon ang ginawa nila. Yan. They look at gill rakers, and they found out class that some are characterized by having short gill raker, and they are more susceptible, or they are more adaptable in eating bloodworms. So these are more bottom feeders, as compared to long gill rakers, which are more effective in eating planktonus. So itong dalawang to, they are, one is at the top, and then the other one is the bottom of the lake. So hindi na sila masyadong nakikita. They're adapted to these kinds of environment and food. The second stage of speciation involves divide into readily distinguishable subpopulation. they can somehow interbreed. Pwede pa din. The third stage is that they are now distinct because now they have limited interbreeding. So meron ng benthic type, meron ng limnetic. Benthic is bottom, limnetic, surface. Diba? And kung titignan yung class, yung kulay nila, iba na rin. So pag nag-meet yan sila, hindi na sila masyadong magkakilala. And speciation ends with distinct population whose reproductive isolation is irreversible. Meaning, hindi mo na sila pwedeng masabi na they are different, they are similar because they are really different. Why speciation matters? Yan. Pathogens that originate in animals switch host. Bakit yung mga class, yung mga bird flu that are considered to be zoonotic. Bird flu, swine flu, humans, nagtatransfer na kung saan yun. Diba? That's problematic as well. Smallpox virus of rodents or camels, somehow it infects humans. Early warning of emerging epidemics can be a good and better surveillance of pathogens infecting people. Okay? So I'll cut the lecture ngayon. We'll have an activity later by group, in the pair again. Tapos class by Thursday, we'll try to use the computer lab kasi we'll have some simulations sa evolution. Titingnan ko kung may gumagamit ng ito, yung sa pang-bioinformatics. Pag wala, then we can use that sa Thursday. Okay?